Okay, so let us then look at just to kind of set the scene or put a bit of context to what we're looking at here today. If I just begin by looking at the French wider market. So in terms of investment, it's third after Germany and the UK in terms of size within Europe. Interestingly, if we look at some of the bullet points on the right-hand side, transactional volumes dropped substantially year on year in 2021. 2019 looks like, from the figures here on the left-hand side, was a boom year. I don't know, was that Brexit related, or was there something else going on? Was it a wider global thing? Then obviously lockdown has impacted over the last 12 months. So understandably, there's been a trail off of activity. Yields seem to have held, prime office yields, and we're looking at Paris here, 2.75%, which is very compressed as a figure, but it's been holding. And that is a clear indicator to me as an outsider of the sheer quality of that market and the levels of interest, high levels of interest that must be for investments in the prime locations within Paris. We'll look at that a little bit more in terms of where are the prime areas within Paris in a moment. There's this observation of weight of money in the marketplace from research I've seen. So there is a lot of outside interest in the French market, which seems to be particularly focused on Paris. And as with the other webinars we've so far done on London and Dublin, there's a clear focus here in France and in Paris on quality. Where there is activity, it seems to be primarily focused on quality. Secondary properties, investments. There's been a widening common trend across markets generally. And it's very much a risk averse at the moment because there's a lot of uncertainty out in the marketplace. In terms of size of transactions, individual transactions, it's the sub 50 million transactions or lot sizes that are driving the market, and it's mainly institutional investors. So the bigger deals are being put on hold, it seems, generally speaking, across France. And again, that's a sign of an uncertainty in the marketplace that investors are being quite cautious. Paris, Central West, you can tell me a little bit about that in a moment, Sinead, if you don't mind, and Western Crescent are some sectors of the market. That seems to be where the focus is. European investors, it appears to be mainly the German investors that are focused on France at the moment. It wasn't so much that the South Koreans were very active up until recent times, but have withdrawn from the market. There must be other dynamics affecting their views of the wider markets, but for the moment it's dominated, it seems, by German investors. That is something that we've seen both in London and in Dublin as well. So next week we are having a webinar on Frankfurt. I'll be really interested to find out what's driving German investors at the moment outside of their home market. So that'll be one to tease out later. The graph we see here, what's interesting about it, we obviously see a rise up to 2019, then it falls away again. A lot of that probably is to do, well, must be to do with lockdown and concerns about global recession and uncertainty generally in the marketplace. But one thing that we can see here is that the office subsector within the wider investment market underpins everything. That's where the main focus is. Then after that is retail, and again beyond that, industrial and logistics. Industrial and logistics, there's a lot of demand, but there's limited supply for prime core material. Retail, as I'm sure a lot of people know, is probably the most dynamic end of the market in terms of change and the impact of the lockdown. as I say, we could do a separate webinar on shopping centres another day, but here today we're looking at offices. It's the main part of the market. So had you any thoughts, Sinead, beyond the points raised here?
No, just to say maybe for the first 3 months of 2021 that there's signs of a recovery as well, that while we are below the investment volume compared to the first quarter last year, we're still above the 10-year average. So that seems to be a good sign. And we've seen primarily French investors as well on the office investments. I think it was 76% over the first quarter. And then in that as well, I think around the same percentage has been in the Greater Paris region.